And although if you're a Hibs man, I imagine every Hibs man in the land, would they take losing 2 or 3-0 to Celtic if it means Hearts don't win the title?
Well, this is where we are right now. I said that the other night in the show, that you're now at a situation where Hearts fans are cheering on Hibs. You get Hibs fans who will be cheering on Celtic during the game against Celtic. You get Celtic fans cheering on Rangers against Hearts. This is where we're getting to now. We're on bonkers. Listen, I think it's an awkward one for Hibs fans. It really is. They go and win the game. They're probably giving their big rivals a leg up in terms of the title race. There's no getting away from that. In terms of the players and the manager at Hibs, they won't be thinking like that. And I guarantee they won't be thinking like that. There's pride at stage, a professional pride. There's positions in the league. There's Europe. There's win bonuses, by the way, which is professional athletes, which they get for winning games. So I think Hibs will be competitive and have a go. Of course, Celtic problems. I don't think they'll be, in inverted commas, lying down for anyone. I wouldn't be surprised if Hibs get a result against Celtic. They're giving them nothing but trouble all season.
Neither would I agree.
And Celtic are also very flaky, and they're kind of getting by on individual moments, but they're not particularly putting together cohesive football matches. So that game is another one that's going to be in the balance. It can go either way. So I wouldn't be surprised having all this talk about lying down, the Hibs go and get 3 points and throw an absolute spanner in the works.
I think it would be so like this Celtic team, kind of lead the fans up the garden path a wee bit. Oh, everything's back to normal, mate. Maeda's back. We're finally in a run. We're going to do the double for them then to go and lose at Easter Road. I don't know what you think, Scott, but I could see that happening definitely.
I can't see it. I think Celtic will go there and win. You mentioned Maeda. I think he'll be crucial. Seems to just be coming into a bit of form, obviously at the right time. Well, I say this. I've said this a few times on here, Daniel. I mean, I do get it in terms of the Hibs fans, because Hibs fans must go through their lives thinking, no, Hearts will never win a league. I mean, if you're a middle-aged kind of Hibs fan, a young Hibs fan, they must just think, they must never even contemplate Hearts winning a league title. And we think of that rivalry. I mean, if Hearts win this, for a Hibs supporter, that's absolutely horrendous. I mean, horrendous. Because you're never going to hear the end. I mean, you're never going to hear the end of this.
It's Hibs' 150th anniversary as well, which just rubs salt in the too.
And listen, I mean, Hibs in my lifetime, Hibs have obviously lost to Hearts 5-1 in the Scottish Cup final. You think that's the lowest it can get? No, that's the worst. That's the worst you can ever feel. No, this will be worse. I mean, if Hearts go and win the title, so. Purely from a fan's point of view, I get it. It must be really difficult, and you must be going to the game. I think you always turn up at a game wanting your team to win. I do find it hard to accept once you're there as a supporter. No, actively want your team to lose. I mean, I get it. This is a bizarre season, bizarre situation we're in. But as Mick says, see for players and the manager. No, ultra professional. I don't think they can approach it any other way than trying to win a big game. No, they've got a European place to fight for. They've got Motherwell breathing down their necks, trying to get fourth. And ultimately, and people might disagree with this, but I think I'm right in saying Hearts winning the league won't affect Hibs players anywhere near as much as it'll affect supporters.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, there's probably a couple of Hibs fans in that dressing room, guys like Josh Campbell and that, but they'll not be affected as much. No, by Hearts. It's not as big a disaster Hearts winning the league, even though they're their rivals, than it is for supporters, because it's the supporters that have got to go to their work every day and take absolute dog's abuse for their Jambo pals for years to come. If that happens, you know what I mean? So it's a tricky situation for the Hibs supporters, but I don't think for the Hibs players. And I feel for Tam a wee bit, because I get the point he's trying to make, but I think his ghostwriter's done him in, basically.
What I would say, Dan, is that we're talking Celtic being a bit flaky, right? But the reality is, I wouldn't be surprised if Celtic dropped points at Hibs, but the reality is they haven't actually dropped that many points under Martin Nielsen to go back the second time.
Yep.
And they've had 2 draws and 2 defeats across that whole period since he came back in January. I mean, the draw, he lost to Hibs with 10 men, drew with Hearts, which at Tynecastle was a good result, and then drew with Rangers at Ibrox, and then lost the one game that stands out is Dun United away when they had an absolute stinker. But apart from that, they've always found a way. I mean, by the way, it's not been pretty, and sometimes it's been late. But likewise, it's a bit like Hearts have been a bit the same. It's like they've been getting the job done. So, I mean, I know we're saying they're flaky and they're not been great. That's true, but the results, they've won 4 in the bounce since that Tannadice horror show. So they have got a bit ahead of steam, and they have managed to grind out results. And a bit like we're talking about the Rangers and expectation, maybe Celtic at some point thought this is not going to happen this season. And they've kind of said, we'll just give it a good throw. I mean, they lost 8 games, but I mean, 4 of the league games came in the space of about a fortnight under Wilfred Nancy. So
see that Dundee United game? See the Dundee United game? I don't know about you. I don't know if you were there that day.
I was, aye.
I thought Celtic were done that day. I mean, honestly, I watched that game and I couldn't believe the lack of hunger, the lack of appetite. I couldn't believe players' body language. I know the pitch was obviously rubbish, but the quality of their play was so poor. Lack of chance creation, all that kind of stuff. I came away from that thinking Celtic are out. I hadn't seen a Celtic performance like that, honestly, in a long time. If you take away the Nancy period, I thought they were finished. So that's why you've got to admire Martin O'Neill and what he's done there, and obviously the players. But like we're saying about Rangers getting themselves back in it. Honestly, I thought that day at Tannadice, Celtic were done, and for them to get back in it into this position, and I reckon they've got a right good chance now. Celtic, especially as I say, we might find a bit of form. I think they've done unbelievably well for that day at Tannadice to get into this position.
I think that day at Tannadice, seeing you looking back now in hindsight, did look as though they were done that day, but it was in the back of a period when we're guilty of it in the media. We built it up as a kind of a fortnight that was going to make or break Celtic's campaign. And a lot of us were thinking this will be that, having been hanging on for months, this will be the end of season show here. They had Stuttgart away in Europe, they had Rangers up away.
Those
Rangers
5 games, Mick, wasn't it?
And then they had Motherwell at Parkhead as well in that period. And they got through that period having beaten Stuttgart, having drawn with Rangers, having put Rangers at the Cup, and then beating Motherwell, and then beating Aberdeen at Pittodrie as well. They get through they 5 games, and it was almost like, I think they'd done their tanking. And I think maybe they subconsciously thought, we've done the hard part, that run, this is going to be easier. They get to Tannadice, and the park's covered in sand. And they didn't have the energy. I think that was a bit of a slump, but they've reset since that.